Hey, crazy cats, Michael Beresford here from Open Corp for today's Property Wealth WOD. We've just had our workshop up in Sydney on the weekend. Fantastic day, bunch of really great questions from motivated investors. We had a ball and hopefully everyone got some value out of that day with Cam, Al and I. The biggest takeout, without doubt, is that in the WODs I need to be speaking the brand. So for those of you out there that said that my business attire is not up to scratch, it needs to be WOD t-shirts, this is for you guys. Now today's WOD is actually going to be about the antics that happened on our return flight last Saturday night to Melbourne. Okay, but that WOD will probably go for about 45 minutes and we've only got a couple of minutes. So it's actually not on that, but in all seriousness guys, one of the questions that I did get more times than I would care to remember on Saturday was around the affordability of housing, and are prices too high? And it's understandable, obviously, because we were doing the workshop in Sydney, and all of our our Sydney followers and Sydney-siders have obviously seen tremendous price growth over the last 4 years or so. So, as it always happens when you look across the media for different stories, this one is about the banks pulling back on mortgage lending. And I use that to tie into the affordability scenario. So, data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows that the size of home loans are falling across the country, with the national average home loan size now a smidgen over $357,000. Okay, so probably not as high as what you would expect. Obviously, range of quotes and stats in here, but banks are scrutinising, try and get that out, new loan applications more closely, taking a tougher line against assessing a borrower's income. And look, none of this is new, guys. If you've been following the WODs, g'day to Steve out there, he's seen all 233 twice. We've been talking around what's been happening with APRA, the increasing on the servicing requirements, the decreasing of loan-to-value ratios and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but the key takeout point from what we're talking about here is if we've seen growth in the market, remember these APRA changes aren't new, they've been in place for close on 12 months now. Okay, so over the last 12 months, if you check out RP data, you'll see that the major capital cities, especially Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, in that order, have seen significant price growth, okay, in terms of percentage terms. Ask yourself, how can that growth be happening if the banks are stopping lending or tightening the screws so hard that lending is not possible? Because that's the nature of a headline like this, is that it's really hard to get a loan. Sure, it's tougher than it was, but it's not impossible. Okay, and while we deal with it every day, you guys as investors deal with it every day, it's a challenge, and it's just another challenge, another hurdle that we have to get over in terms of building that portfolio. Okay, so the key point being, if prices have continued to grow, but it's harder to get a loan these days, then clearly there's overwhelming evidence to show that people can afford, Australians can afford the prices that they're paying for property now. Okay, so while it might be a shock to think that, especially for some of our older viewers out there that have a story like my parents, my grandparents, when they bought their first house for 20 grand back in 1960 or thereabouts, it's really hard to imagine that the median house price can be nearly $1 million in Sydney. Okay, but a whole range of factors change, wages go up over time as well, and again, if that money can be achieved and can be attained by the banks, then the price of property is still affordable given how strict they're being on lending criteria now compared to what they were. Okay. The other main point out of this is obviously you need to be flexible, you need to be persistent, don't have a relationship with one bank, use a professional, guys, and not just a mortgage broker from anywhere, but specifically where investment loans are being scrutinised on far more tougher terms than what owner-occupied loans are. It's relatively easy to turn up with your group certificate and a couple of pay slips and get an owner-occupied loan. You'll be assessed far more stringently in terms of servicing requirements for an investment loan. So it's fundamental that my one takeout from today, use a mortgage broker who is experienced with property investment, ideally has investments themselves, and who has a large database of investors. Okay, bring it back to simple terms, guys. There's about 15,300 Australians out there that have 6 or more properties. There are probably thousands of brokers out there in Australia getting mortgages for people. Okay, so law of averages says that not every broker is going to be able to have a specific set of skills and experience in helping people put the structures in place and get loans for investments that allow you to build a portfolio. One might be easy, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on might take a bit more work. Hope that helps. Catch you next time.